Hi, I'm Heather, and I've been learning how to use gouache over the last few months, so I thought I would share one of my projects with you. I'm working on cold pressed black watercolor paper, and I'm just tracing a circle around some tape with a white pencil. You could use any colored pencil to do this, maybe even green, so that would look like the stems. The circle is just a guide for the wreath I'm going to paint. I've picked out a few colors of gouache and just squeezed them into a palette, and I'm mixing them with a little bit of water. One of the things that I'm learning about gouache is what consistency works best. It's a little bit different to watercolor paints. They tend to be thinner, very much like water, whereas with gouache it's better to have it a little bit more like cream. You can mix it so that it's like water and it will be a bit transparent, but I'm wanting it to be opaque. So the consistency is a little bit like cream. I mixed some yellow, some green, and a little bit of white. I found that the colors look a little bit nicer with some white mixed in, but that's just personal preference. To paint these leaves, I'm just putting the tip to the paper, pressing down to get the shape of the leaf, and then pulling up the pressure again to get a point. I practiced this on scraps of paper for hours and hours, but with a nice round shaped brush, it's a fairly straightforward way to make a leaf. So you'll see in a minute that I've sped up the footage. For each step of this wreath, I will show you a slower version and then just speed it up to get around the circle. Even the slower version is faster than I actually paint, so keep that in mind. I do each stroke slowly. I'm making a darker green now, so taking some of that light green I already mixed, mixing it in with the green that was straight out of the tube, and again just adding a little bit of white. I'm doing it with a toothpick because I just have this thing about wasting paint. I need to get over it. I could just use a brush, but I keep fiddling with a toothpick, which is not that satisfactory. I wouldn't waste that much paint if I did it with a brush. This is another easy leaf pattern to do with the end of a round, like a nice point on a round brush. You just basically touch the brush to the paper and it makes a little teardrop shape, and I'm just doing 5 in each leaf. I've switched brushes to an angled tip, a fairly small one, to do the stems of those little leaves. You could also do that with a gel pen, or you could do it with the tip of a round brush. I just found I was managing to get a finer line with this angled brush. You don't have to work with gouache on black watercolor paper. You could work on mixed media paper or white watercolor paper. I just love the look of it on black. I'm now mixing a yellow and a red to make myself an orange. And again, I'm going to add some white in so that it ends up looking a little more coral, peachy colored to make some little flowers. I'm back to the round brush, and as I mentioned before, I'm quite new to gouache, so I'm not doing any fancy designs. And these little flowers, I'm painting them from the side and just doing 4 or 5 little strokes to make it look like the look of a flower from the side. They're the little petals. Because the gouache paint is opaque, I can paint over some of the other leaves and they cover the leaf underneath, which is a little bit different from watercolor. Watercolor is transparent, and so if you're painting over the top, you can often see what's underneath. So a different kind of effect. Now, I'm not using a brush to do these little berries. I've got a stylus with just a round metal spherical end, and if I dip that into the paint, as long as the paint is runny enough, like it's probably a little more liquid than cream, I can get a large berry the first time I touch the paper, and then the next 2 are a little smaller. Naturally, the stylus doesn't hold on to that much paint. To finish off, I've switched to pearlescent paint. This is a gold from the Calero Earth set, and I'm just making some triangular dotted type flowers. You could do this with the stylus, but I switched to the brush because I'm doing like 9 or 10 little dots there, just kind of randomly, thick at the bottom, pointed at the top, to look like a little plant. Camera cut out before I could show you that I just used a gold gel pen to give stems to those little gold flowers. And now I'm stamping a sentiment on black cardstock in Versamark so that I can emboss it in gold and then cut it out and put it onto my finished card. I masked a little bit at the bottom of that panel just so I could get a partial sentiment. I just wanted the thinking of you words. So I embossed that in gold, cut it out, and put some dimensional tape on the back. I attached my painted panel to a cream card base. It's easier to write inside with that, and then just added my sentiment over the top. I hope you enjoyed seeing me use gouache on some black watercolor paper. Maybe you'll consider giving gouache a try. I did lots of experimenting on other paper just with the consistency and the color mixing, but it's a really fun and vibrant medium to try. Check out my blog for more projects, and I'll see you again soon.